Hi, everybody. This is Tom and Culture Chap, and today I want to talk to you about Barbarella the musical. Yeah. Now you're thinking to yourself, why haven't I seen that? That's not something I've seen come to a theater near me. There's a musical? I didn't know that existed. So, for those of you that don't know, Barbarella is a wonderful film, a fun film with Jane Fonda from the late 1960s, I think 1968. And it is an adventure film. Plucky, sexy girl is in a spaceship that crashes, and it's about the adventures and the people that she meets. Now, there's lots of wackiness and so forth, and the film is a cult classic. And when preparing for this video, there were a lot of people that were like, well, who is going to see a film from the 19th? Who would see a musical based on a film from the 1960s? And I want to remind you, who would make a musical called Little Shop of Horrors from a budget B film from the 1950s? That's worked really well. Who would make a musical from a cult, maybe flop film as far as the film industry goes, from a film called Xanadu, which is now a wonderful musical? So, bear with me. It's actually happened. It's happened in Vienna. So, producers got together and pursued this idea of doing it as a musical, and they asked Dave Stewart. Remember Dave Stewart? The Eurythmics, Annie Lennox? That's Dave Stewart. He wrote the lyrics and the music, and there's a cast album that you can listen to, and I'll give you the links below. And it actually played for a while. It opened in March, and then It opened in March in 2004 and closed right as January hit in 2005, which is not unusual for shows in Vienna to play that long, but then close in the winter. So that's usual. It doesn't mean failure. Now, Playbill in America announced an article in 2005 that it was going to translate this musical and the lyrics and so forth and everything and open the show in Las Vegas, okay? Which I don't see any evidence of. So the subject matter, like I told you, is plucky, sexy girl goes through space. Some people may wrinkle their noses like, a little too much sex in that. Well, Jane Fonda, who was the star of that movie that Roger Vadim directed and had made, she said, actually, with very few tweaks, just tweaks here and there, it really could be a feminist story. And again, when researching this, some people laughed at me and I said, but when you look at Hairspray, the original film was not the musical we see. Similar, yes, but they tweaked it so that Tracy Turnblad was now fighting racism and fighting separatism in her community. So that was tweaked from the original. And a lot of things were tweaked from the original when the musical version comes out. The list is very long. I myself directed Little Women the Musical, which you're probably tired of hearing of, but it's only 2 hours, and it can't cover everything that happened in the 600-page novel. So, and the ages of the characters are slightly condensed, okay? So Amy isn't as young as she is in the book. She's slightly aged because one actor portrays them through their childhood through adulthood. So yeah, it's not a musical where you have the children and they switch to adult actors in the second act. Barbarella could have all these qualities. What does it mean to be a feminist? How has that changed from the 1960s? Are we looking at this through a lens of fun and whimsy, like we are with Little Shop of Horrors and Xanadu, where it's just fun? We know what the original is. We know what the original film is, and this is our interpretation of it. There's lots of adaptations out there that really work. Now, some people will argue with me in the comments, but I think what's called the Dirty Hem, Keira Knightley, Pride and Prejudice, is a wonderful adaptation of the original story that is slightly different from the original film And again, slightly different than the play version. Okay, I think it works very well. We know they're adaptations, and Barbarella could be an adaptation. The thing about Barbarella is that basically it's an action film, or it's an on-the-road film. There has to be a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not showing you a lot of pictures of the musical in Vienna because they just weren't available. I'm not saying they're trying to hide anything. It's just the sort of cataloging of the pictures and what happened in the original is mostly the music, as it should be, because there's a ton of Dave Stewart fans out there for music. So that's great. That is well documented. It's available. The photographs and promotional items, not so much. So as I was thinking about this video, the cover image you see on my video is Glen Hanson. And I think this artist, Glen Hanson, really captured part of the beauty of the original film and why we love it. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of visual interest. There's a lot of fun costumes that she keeps changing all the time. And the style of this print, which you can buy, and I'll leave the links below, really captures the original film and what the musical really should capture as well. The beauty of it, the fun of it, not the campiness, I wouldn't call this picture campy. I would say the style of Barbarella is part of the thing we fell in love with. And you may think, well, no, I'm deeper than just caring about style. Are we? We love style. We try to pretend that we don't. And we try to pretend that something like Barbarella is not intellectual. Why? You know, Xanadu, the original movie, was not that intellectual. It was about following the dream, and the dream that the lead male has. Sonny? See, all I can think of him is Cheyenne Jackson, who played him in the musical. His dream is to, a muse comes down from Olympus, and his dream is to have all the arts combined in a roller disco. That's deep. That's really deep, right? We love it. We love what it is, and we love fun musicals. They don't all have to be deep. And the tweaking of Barbarella into not a very different story, Jane Fonda's right. It can be tweaked into a more feminist story. She saves people. She fights evil. You know, she's got a lot of heroic qualities. She's a bit of an innocent, but she learns quick. There's a lot there. It would be lots of fun, but I think that it requires a lot of stuff to really achieve the style. She changes her costume all the time. That's part of the story. She meets a whole lot of people. So you could have a chorus, which is very talented, an ensemble playing all these different parts. And the chorus, as she travels, from the maze, from the crash landing, to the ice fields, to the maze, to the Mathmos city, all those chorus members could change their costumes. We know what's happening. It's the same guy. But it would be fun. So it requires money. Okay? The genius of Little Shop of Horrors is that it started small. It started as something that wasn't wanted, but became sort of a cult sensation. It started in a small theater, and the expense was costumes, set, not too expensive in the scheme of things, and the bigger expense of the puppets, which are usually 3 to play Audrey 2. So our expenses are controlled, and our music and our story is fantastic that we knew would catch on, with a very good writer and creator who said, obviously we're testing it. Obviously musicals have to be tested to see if they work. And, you know, the bigger they get, the more stuff they get. Not really true in Little Shop. Its fame, it did very well in New York. Its fame really comes with regional theaters. Everyone did it. It's a guaranteed hit, always. Little Shop is really loved. And the movie came out, and sales went up to the theater. Same with Xanadu. You may think like, oh, I've seen pictures, I've seen this. When it started in New York, it wasn't the biggest theater. They were careful with their money. And when you look at Xanadu, yes, it's got cool stuff. Yes, it's got amazing stuff, but there aren't a lot of costume changes. The chorus plays a lot of parts. There are lots of things like when there's wigs with snakes coming out of them for Medusa, or the guy comes on as a centaur with the horse end. There is stuff, and she flies away on Pegasus, which is on the fly system. There is stuff, but it was controlled. A bit more money spent on that musical, but it wasn't a giant theater when it started. And again, did well in New York, proved itself, made tweaks and changes, made itself tongue-in-cheek and funny. We know what it is. We know what we're going to see. This is going to be fun, really fun. We love the original. This may be slightly different than the original. It's an adaptation. The same can be true with Barbarella, but it seems to be more expensive to put together. What if somebody found this stuff from 2005, which is 20 years ago now? Why didn't it work? Why isn't it available for other theaters to do? Does it need lots of stuff? Have we changed our ideas about feminism and kitschy musicals? And, can we see this as something viable? And can it be done by regional theaters of any price level? Okay? Would it sell? Is the movie too old? Is the cult following, has it waned? Is the music fun enough? Probably so. Dave Stewart is a very talented musician, extremely talented. I bet it's good. Tell me what you think after you listen to the soundtrack. Yes, which is in German probably. Okay? And why isn't this available? Why couldn't I find information about this? Some musicals die. They just go away after they've first been released. For whatever reason. They get tied up in legal courts, and I don't know what happened to this one. But it might be worth pursuing if you think your audiences might like to do it. And if we as theater creatives can think of ways to do that, which you're spending money on actors and the music and the rights and the costumes, and that's enough. The rest of the sets can be projected. There's a lot of people with projectors now. Or the sets can be pared down to something you can afford. And you're not taking as much of a chance because it just might sell. And just because I couldn't find all the details of how you can pursue this doesn't mean you can't. You're all connected in different ways than I am. And, it's like the play 6 Degrees of Separation. You never know who you're connected to find out these details, Maybe some of you out there know Dave Stewart and can ask him, Maybe it can be done in a concert version where they just keep changing costume, but it's just the music and a little bit of the story. Less fun, but still, it might be good. All right. I think this is something worth pursuing, but that's just me. Tell me what you think. Barbarella the musical, based on the movie from the 1960s. I think it could be wonderful. All right. Now, follow Glen Hanson. This is his Instagram page and his Facebook page, Art of Glen Hanson. You can buy this print. That'd be nice. You can even buy t-shirts from his other work, which is great, which I saw a few of his t-shirts from the movie Death Becomes Her. I saw them walking around the new musical Death Becomes Her. Now, they weren't selling them at the musical, but still, they bought them online. So all that stuff can be down below. Isn't this a great piece? I love this piece. Okay, everything's down in the description. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.